What is up, guys? It is Thursday, January 6th, and it's 4:21 p.m. So starting off with this news, green finance, what is it and why is it important? So I wanted to do a segment on this because last night I saw US Congress organizing oversight hearing on crypto mining's environmental footprint. There's a report. The US is the world's largest Bitcoin miner now. So the crash that caused the crypto markets to fall back in May of 2021 was China banning cryptocurrency mining in the country. So the miners from China spread out all across the world, and mining in China was it was conglomerated there. There was a ton. Most of the mining came from China. So by them banning it, most of the miners moved out of there and moved all across the world. So now the US, it's funny, is the world's largest Bitcoin miner now. So the US Congress is preparing now a hearing to examine the environmental impact of crypto mining, especially on the Bitcoin network. So that's very interesting. So the date and witness list for the hearing are still undetermined, but it could take place as early as the end of January, citing sources familiar with the matter. So the Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee of the House Energy and Commerce Committee is currently drawing up a list of witnesses. There will be question about the energy use of proof of work mining and the type of mining used for Bitcoin. So that's why it's so important to understand the different consensus mechanisms of the different cryptocurrencies. So the way that Bitcoin validates its transactions is through a consensus mechanism called proof of work. So proof of work is very energy intensive. It uses a lot of computational power. There's like all these warehouses with computers and hardware in it working 24/7 around the clock, just churning computational puzzles to solve these blocks that contain our Bitcoin transactions within them. So when these miners and these warehouses and entities are mining these Bitcoin, they're mining blocks through this proof of work mining validation of consensus mechanism, right? So that is why it's so important to understand the different mechanisms, because proof of work mining very energy intensive. And with the world through this digital revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, we're moving to more ESG and like green finance. So that's why I'm very interested in hearing this report or listening to the hearing when it comes out and listen to the verbiage and what they're saying, because there could be a scenario where Bitcoin changes its validation mechanism and changes from proof of work to something else. And I'll show you some stuff and some other kind of people saying the same thing. So we'll get into that. But in 2021, as Bitcoin's carbon footprint was taking up headlines, U.S. companies continued to pour millions into Bitcoin mining infrastructure. Chinese miners fleeing a regulatory crackdown also made investments in the U.S., which is now the world's largest Bitcoin miner. So mining firms plan to continue expanding their capacity over the next year. In December, Elizabeth Warren sent a letter to New York-based miner Greenidge's CEO, expressing concerns about the firm's environmental impact. This was followed by a New York Times article which relayed concerns surrounding the increased mining in the state. So these recent events in New York State have raised the alarm over crypto mining with the House Energy and Commerce Committee, a person involved in pre-hearing discussions with the Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee told the block. So very interesting stuff out of here, and it's like it's from left field again. So this was like the talk of the town back in May when it caused the last crash in crypto. So we definitely want to pay attention to this, because now these miners were kind of mostly based out of China, and they moved from China. Now they're here in the US, and we're the world's largest Bitcoin miner. Meanwhile, you have a US based company like Ripple providing software and solutions to speed up the way money moves across the world by partnering with banks to enhance their systems via their blockchain technology system. So it's very interesting to see that this is coming out of left field, and I'm very interested in listening to this and to stay on top of it, especially if the last time that this was mentioned, the markets took a dip. So I'll be keeping an ear out to the street for that. And another reason why green finance is so important, so our favorite committee, the World Economic Forum, right? They're saying, they had an article, this is November of 2020, what is green finance and why is it important? So green finance is any structured financial activity that's been created to ensure a better environmental outcome. So the value of green bonds traded could soon hit 2.36 trillion. The European Central Bank is getting heavily involved in green finance. The top three bond issuers are the US, China, and France. The World Economic Forum's Green Horizon Summit focuses on how green finance can help in the recovery from COVID-19. Very interesting. How could green finance focus on or be a help to the recovery to C19? It's weird. Green finance is blossoming. Globally, the green bond market could be worth 2.36 trillion by 2023. That's next year. So it is regarded as a way of meeting the needs of environmentalism and capitalism simultaneously. But what is green finance and how does it work? So at its simplest, green finance is any structured financial activity, a product, a service, so a loan. So maybe a company is trying to provide better solutions to a problem or a service that is climate friendly compared to its competitor that's not climate friendly. So loans tailored to the climate friendly businesses would be kind of categorized as green financing, right? So let's see here. That's been created to ensure better environmental outcomes. So it includes an array of loans, debt mechanisms, and investments that are used to encourage the development of green projects or minimize the impact on the climate of more regular projects, or a combination of both. So what I just said. So funding sustainable development for the United Nations, green financing plays an important role in delivering several of its sustainable development goals. Its environment team is already working with public and private sector organizations in an attempt to align international financial systems to the sustainable development agenda. So the United Nations is delivering or being an important role in delivering several of its sustainable development goals and working with public and private sector organizations attempting to align international financial systems. So bringing green finance into the financial system and having that value or principle being the backbone of how the financial system works internationally. So I'm going to actually open that up and keep it there because I want to read more about that. But some of the activities UN Environment is involved in include helping countries re-engineer their regulatory framework so that green borrowing becomes compliant. For example, on helping steer public sector planning in more environmentally friendly direction. Clean sources of energy can be brought to fruition through the right combination of planning consent, strategic priorities, and available capital. Such projects could be given preferential treatment to make them a more attractive option than, for example, fossil fuel derived energy infrastructure. So typical projects that fall under the green finance umbrella include renewable energy and energy efficiency, pollution prevention and control, biodiversity conservation, circular economy initiatives, and sustainable use of natural resources and land. So yeah, there's been growing international interest. US, China, and France and the ECB are heavily involved. Green bonds are about to rise to over 3 trillion start of next year, 2023. That's a quick timeline they're given. So green finance, it's important because some of the biggest players that we watch right now are talking about it, and they're saying that it's important themselves, and they're saying that the recovery, it could help the recovery for COVID-19. And also too, it's growing obviously as far as the market for it, and it seems to be it's the standard that we're moving towards, a more less of a fossil fuel derived energy infrastructure, but more of like a sustainable green climate friendly infrastructure. So why is that important when we come to investing into crypto, and why is that important for us to look at when it goes about choosing which type of cryptos to invest in? So why should we do that? So let's see. First of all, that was that United Nations green financing article here about aligning the international financial systems. Let's see if we can actually find anything in here real quick. So here we go. The UN Environment has been working with countries, financial regulators, and finance sector to align financial systems to the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda to direct financial flows to support the delivery of the Sustainable Development Goals. At the core of today's globalized economy are financial markets through which banks and investors allocate capital to different sectors. The capital allocated today will shape ecosystems and the production and consumption patterns of tomorrow. The main areas for the current work on green financing are supporting public sector on creating enabling environment, promoting public-private partnerships on financing mechanisms such as green bonds, and capacity building of community enterprises on microcredit. So a multi-country policy initiatives at sub-regional, regional, and a global level. A global level. Okay, so not too much in there, but here it is. So we got the World Economic Forum, and this is that diagram that's like interactive right here. And they're talking about the climate change and sustainability and like carbon, the social cost, building climate coalitions, the Paris Agreement, transitioning to clean energy, and investing in climate action. So you could look at all around here, and this is like the web of like things that are involved. So Green New Deals, climate indicators, C19, future of energy, electricity, batteries, oil and gas, United States, global governance, Antarctica, the ocean, social justice, cities and urbanization. So space, Internet of Things, drones, banking and capital markets. So they're laying out to you the map, the web of what's connected to this specific kind of social topic, and how they can go about changing it to whatever standards they think seem fit. So if you looked here to the right, you see publications. So I signed up for the Strategic Alliance World Economic Forum diagram thing. And it's actually game changer, because this is where all the big companies, Fortune 500 companies, they're a part of this economic forum, the World Economic Forum. So I remember working at Fidelity, that when they were all the same verbiage that the World Economic Forum is talking about, and like what they kind of suggest that companies and regulators should be about, I started feeling that at Fidelity, like the way that they went about processes, and they used to always talk about drive the customer digital. And now you look at the World Economic Forum, they're talking about the digitalization, or the Federal Reserve, the digitalization of things, and how that's speeding up. Right? So all these connections, and you can apply them in the real world too, aside from looking at the computer into the research. Like during your day and being at work or being just out talking to people, you can see what's happening behind the scenes and see what's happening in front of the scenes. And the key is really combining the both and having an all-around look and making the best decision and speculating on what, how, or where it could play out, right? So that was just a little tidbit right there. I always go off on rants, you know that, but I'm hyped up right now because you got the XRP Ledger. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even get into it. So the publications, the Rocky Mountain Institute. So reality check, gas no longer needed as a bridge to a clean energy future. And then talking about Washington State could lead the nation on building electrification codes, and just a whole lot of Rocky Mountain Institute. And enabling the transition to zero emission shipping, how green corridors can enable that. That was 1 day ago. Wow. Okay, but Rocky Mountain Institute. So right here, you have XRP Ledger Foundation, Ripple, and Energy Web, and I'm going to do a deep dive on that next. But they announced the world's first decarbonized blockchain. So Rocky Mountain Institute backed Energy Web launches EW0, provides technology solution applicable to all blockchains. All right. Let's stop for a sec, because basically the XRP Ledger Foundation, Ripple, and Energy Web with the Rocky Mountain Institute, tied with, the World Economic Forum and all this, tied with everything that we said back here with the United Nations and all that. So, and then now let's bring it full circle, because the US Congress is talking about how the world's largest Bitcoin miner, the US is, but they were talking about how they're worried about the crypto mining that's going on and the energy intensiveness of it, and how it's bad for the environment, because the power of green finance, that's what we're shifting to, because that's what all of these Fortune 500 companies are transitioning to through the World Economic Forum agenda and the Sustainable Development Agenda 2030 for the UN, and through this fourth industrial revolution diagram. And now they're developing this solution for blockchains that decarbonize them and make them sustainable, 100% sustainable, right? See? Look at all those connections being made, but they're not telling you this though. They're not going to come out and say all this and make the connections. It's all about doing that research, doing those deep dives, putting that gear on, and you really can be ahead of the game connecting the pieces, because they're never going to tell you straight outright, because then everybody would know and it'd be a piece of cake. There's going to be diversions. There's going to be news and articles, or FUD, which means fear, uncertainty, and doubt, to throw you off. But it's all about really taking this full circle, making the connections, and having it stick, and drawing conclusions that you could put a probability or a number to, saying that this is most likely 88% likely going to happen this way because I drew these conclusions and I followed this timeline to that, to that, to that. And you did your research and homework, and you can make those conclusions that way. So it's game changer, because they're developing the first world's decarbonized blockchain that is applicable to all blockchains. So XRP Ledger Foundation, Ripple, and Energy Web announced the decarbonization of the XRP Ledger. So XRP is already fully decarbonized. This marks the first ever widespread decarbonization of a public blockchain. Wow. And that was back in September 2020, the 30th. So that marked the first ever widespread decarbonization of a public blockchain, before Bitcoin, before Ethereum, right? Addressing a significant environmental challenge for blockchain technologies around the world. The pioneering innovation has been achieved using technology from Energy Web. That's got to be on our radar. So the nonprofit energy tech company co-founded by Rocky Mountain Institute. This initial deployment uses energy attribute certificates from renewable energy assets to decarbonize the blockchain's electricity use. Wow. So Energy's web open source application called EW0 enables individuals, businesses, or in this case, an entire blockchain ecosystem to transition to verified zero carbon electricity. Game changer. That is nuts. Like, guys, I do this all live. I'm not pulling this all together before. This is crazy, because all these connections being made and just like the narrative being built, I think we know what's about to happen. Wow. Blockchain technologies have historically faced considerable challenges decarbonizing their energy use due to the naturally distributed nature of blockchain communities and computational processing power. Technology giants such as Amazon and Google, whose processing largely takes place in directly owned and controlled data centers, are able to contract clean energy with relative ease and precision. Blockchains face a dilemma since both energy use and decision making is largely decentralized. No single individual or organization is in a position to make energy purchasing decisions for an entire blockchain. So the top 5 energy consuming blockchains currently use up to 170 terawatts of electricity per year, more than the state of New York. And it's funny how they're that is hilarious. So look at the comparison they're drawing this to. Top 5 energy consuming blockchains currently use up 170 terawatts of electricity per year, more than the state of New York. Let's go back to this. So the US Congress about the sustainability and the electricity use and how it's bad. And what do they make a comparison to? These recent events in New York State. In December, Senator Elizabeth Warren sent a letter to the New York-based Green Ninja CEO, expressing concerns about the firm's environmental impact. And then was followed by a New York Times article, which relayed concerns about surrounding the increasing mining in the state. Wow. So, with corporate and government interest in real-world blockchain solutions on the rise, legitimate concerns regarding the associated carbon emissions have been growing. This announcement demonstrates a path towards zero-carbon operations for all blockchains. With the XRP Ledger as a starting point, Energy Web, XRP Ledger Foundation, and Ripple are calling on other blockchain communities to join the move to being powered by zero-carbon electricity. Energy Web has already followed suit, decarbonizing 1 year's worth of electricity use for the Energy Web chain with renewable energy EACs. While the XRP Ledger is already one of the greenest blockchains in the world, we are taking one step further to be the first blockchain that is fully decarbonized thanks to our partnership with Energy Web Foundation. Wow, man. Wow, this is crazy. So we're proud to partner with Energy Web on an initiative with such a positive upside for climate action and clean energy, not just as co-developers of the technological solution, but also as one of its first adopters, said Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple. So they helped them, well, they were a co-developer of the technological solution that with Energy Web. So Energy Web say half, and then Ripple and XRP half, right? And then they're also the first adopters of it. So the product, the solution that they provided, the software, whatever it may be, like a stack on top of the other blockchain, it's Energy Web token and XRP, right? So they're looking to decarbonize all blockchains. So the solution that could be put on top of every single blockchain could include Energy Web and XRP Ledger with it. So Energy Web and its ecosystem of more than 100 major energy companies globally to make green blockchains the new de facto standard for the distributed ledger industry will play a key role in building a sustainable future for all. Guys, this is some heat. This is heat. So to decarbonize the XRP Ledger, EW0 was used in partnership with 3D Degrees, a longtime Energy Web member and specialist in renewable energy, transportation decarbonization, and other climate solutions. Renewables were sourced from the United Kingdom and the United States and the Philippines to decarbonize the XRP Ledger for a period of 1 year. We've reached a major turning point for the blockchain industry. With this announcement, we're turning the blockchain's use... With this announcement, we're turning the blockchain's use too much energy issue completely on its head by converting entire blockchain networks into direct investors in zero carbon renewables. As the world economy transitions to low carbon energy, we now have in sight the possibility that every transaction, every smart contract running on any blockchain network worldwide could be powered 100% by affordable, verified, renewable energy sources with zero emissions. That's all just crazy stuff right there. So this first EW0 transaction was completed in fiat. Next, Energy Web plans to enable transactions on EW0 to take place in the native currency of the blockchain being decarbonized, and for anyone in a given blockchain ecosystem to individually purchase renewables for their chain, whether they are a developer, a miner, an end user, or another ecosystem member. So, wow. This is it. This is it. So blockchain and digital assets are truly innovative technologies that will fundamentally reshape the future of finance. Blockchain and digital assets, reshaping the future of finance to a sustainable green finance world, right? Ripple is taking the lead to ensure fintech is part of the effort to build a sustainable world that is not only transformative for banks and customers, but also beneficial for the planet. Wow. So there it is. And look at this. So to butter the bread, right? We have Chris Larsen. He is the co-founder / executive chairman of Ripple. If I go back here, we see he said, December 9th, you may have seen me and others advocate for Bitcoin to move away from proof of work to address energy consumption long term. A common pushback is that miners would never get on board with this. Well, today I'm proposing a solution to that. While this is early stages and not perfect by any means, I believe if miners continue to receive Bitcoin incentives with a code change, this could bring them on board. Let's discuss. Woo! Crazy. All the stars are really just like lining up here that I think we're onto it. Like 0.01% of people are even looking at this stuff, but 0.0001% can even like comprehend and apply it and make the connections. And we're doing that here. I don't see many people on YouTube and other places doing that. So I'm pumped right now. So Bitcoin mining stocks could rally on proof of work change. As a climate, and this is Chris Larsen. So this is a co-founder of Ripple after everything that I showed you. He even has another one. The cryptocurrency industry needs to reconsider proof of work. So here we go. I'm going to provide you guys with all these links. This is so much. This is so much. All right, this might have to be a deep dive. Okay, let's do this. So as the climate crisis worsens, the world is responding on many fronts. Governments are just part of the action, as we saw yesterday in the hearings in the House. Regulators and policymakers are taking crypto's carbon impact seriously. More encouraging is the dramatic increase in private businesses and foundations addressing the problem. One of the more contentious climate debates has been the legacy problem of Bitcoin's proof of work method and its enormous energy use. This debate has intensified as China, once the dominant Bitcoin mining region, banned the practice earlier this year. China's ban resulted in an explosive increase in U.S. mining operations, including a growing list of publicly traded mining companies. This is the first time I'm reading this article. I really am no lie, and I swear I just said all of this verbatim at the beginning of the video. I'm going to have to pull that up after. But China's ban resulted in an explosive increase in U.S. mining operations, including a growing list of publicly traded mining companies. Questions and letters from policymakers show that they are looking deeper into the practices of these U.S. miners. Globally, we've also seen countries like Iceland and Kazakhstan cap the amount of energy that Bitcoin miners can use due to energy shortages. The emerging solution among climate experts is that Bitcoin's code needs to be changed to a low energy consensus algorithm like those used by nearly all other major crypto protocols. For example, while Bitcoin uses the energy of approximately 12 million US homes per year, other methods could drive that to fewer than 100 US homes. That's a drastic decrease right there. Ethereum, the second largest cryptocurrency, is in process of doing just that, which would make Bitcoin a climate outlier within a $2 to $3 trillion and growing industry. One challenge of making such a code change is the assumed opposition by Bitcoin miners, especially given the enormous and growing investment in U.S. mining operations. Notable U.S. listed mining stocks include... Okay, we can skip that. Today, the Bitcoin network rewards 900 Bitcoin per day to miners based on their relative hash rate, which requires computing power and therefore massive energy use. Approximately 2.1 million additional Bitcoin are to be distributed through the year 2140. So any code change away from proof of work would still need to establish a method to distribute these coins. The least disruptive code proposal would simply take a snapshot of the current hash rate of existing miners and then reward miners on a pro-rata hash power basis through 2140. Existing miners would simply have rights to future Bitcoin rewards without the need to expend additional energy or make additional investments in mining rigs. These rights could be subject to staking rules to further secure the network, and this is fair because it compensates existing miners for their commitment and risk-taking in support of the Bitcoin ecosystem. Under such a proposal, miners would gain additional economic benefit, gaining the same revenue with substantially lower costs. More importantly, they would gain valuable rights to all future rewards that could be held and tokenized. Wow, that would actually be crazy. So if they put Bitcoin on proof of stake, you were a miner, that might make Bitcoin mining attractive again. So how might such a system work? So yeah, this just kind of explains how it would work. We don't have to dive into all the specifics. Yeah, so yeah, he's basically calling, him and many other experts are basically calling for Bitcoin to have the code change and move from proof of work to proof of stake. With the launch of Flare networks, they are basically unlocking the value of tokens like Bitcoin who don't have smart contract functionality. I feel as if with Chris Larsen being the co-executive and co-founder and chairman of Ripple, and having basically being partnered with Flare Networks and being partnered with Energy Web Token, with all this going on in the narrative, I feel like there's a connection to be made there. And I just want to put on the record right now, because if we see news about that this year, I just want to call it that it's January 6th, 2022 right now. So then we got Chris Larsen, so much for incentivizing the green energy revolution. Proof of work cannot be the future of fintech. Bitcoin mining company buys entire coal power plant. The company is burning through 600,000 tons of coal per year. And then other kind of things with sustainability and green finance and just like green shipping and tracking of containers, because I'm pretty sure we saw in one of these, I think it was the UN right here about, oh, it's back here. We had how green corridors can enable the transition to zero emission shipping. Then we have Amazon improving our packaging. Amazon customers want right-sized, recyclable packaging that minimizes waste and ensures damage-free delivery. We work to reinvent and simplify our sustainable packaging options, using a science-based approach that combines lab testing, machine learning, material science, and manufacturing partnerships to scale sustainable change across the packaging supply chain. So we see here that all these companies are getting on board with the sustainability and looking to reduce waste, and they're looking for zero additional packaging and frustration-free packaging and just less waste. And you can see that all these, all the things that they mentioned here play into this diagram. So it's just all lining up, and we can go to here and we see that MasterCard is going to let you track the climate impact of your spending habits. So you have, and this was last year in April, new carbon calculator tool will break down the carbon emissions of spending patterns by category. So MasterCard is rolling out a tool that will allow consumers to gauge how their spending impacts the environment and what the company says its latest attempt to become more sustainable in its business practices. And then if you see here, MasterCard also is a part of the World Economic Forum. They're a member of it as well. So it's just funny how these companies that are a part of it, their services and new products and features are integrating the sustainable aspect when it comes to spending money on, things and the carbon impacts of that. So they're partnering with banks to integrate this carbon calculator into the apps that these banks have. So then we have here, even further than banks and all that, we have flights. So you could go on Google and you could look up best departing flights, and you have Spirit. Look over here. This is new because I had never seen this before, besides I think I started seeing it like a month or two ago. And it has carbon emissions. So by riding Spirit, it's minus 23% carbon emissions, but by riding Jet or American, it's 232 carbon emissions with riding them. So now they're pricing flights or showing the environmental impact of flights when you go to book one. So just another shift and transition into ESG, sustainable finance, and just sustainable everything, all aspects of life. So here we have the social impact and sustainability, sustainable finance. We have a growing number of large institutional investors today are incorporating ESG, which is environmental social governance, metrics into their capital allocation and stewardship criteria. The shift towards sustainable finance, which has evolved beyond socially responsible investing to include asset management and ownership, has profound implications for investors and companies alike. Some of the largest and the most influential institutional investors and asset managers are already at the forefront of a powerful movement to add environmental, social, and corporate governance standards to their criteria for capital allocation. So basically, like we were talking about before, funding companies that are focused towards building a more climate-friendly future. So understanding the ESG factors of today and tomorrow. It hasn't been easy for investors to assess a company's ESG performance. The World Economic Forum and the BCG, which is this website right now, are shedding light on the financial materiality of ESG factors and how those factors will evolve. And then you could see here that Larry Fink, who is the chairman and CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, explains how the climate crisis is fundamentally reshaping his firm's approach to investing. A tectonic shift of capital is just beginning. So the largest asset manager is now saying that the climate crisis in C19 is fundamentally reshaping his firm's approach to investing. So sustainable finance, green finance, that's why it's important. Because when it comes to investing in cryptocurrencies, we want to pick the most sustainable cryptocurrencies because we know that finance and just the way all things, products and services are moving towards is green finance, sustainability, climate friendly. And we know by when, we know the timeline, by 2030. So the 28 most sustainable cryptocurrencies for 2022. Over here, we have, so it's talking about Bitcoin rises in value, the climate suffers. So when Bitcoin goes up in price, the more energy it takes to mine the coins and do the consensus mechanism and validating those transactions. So the climate suffers because of it. So here we have number one, solar coin. So I'm just going to name them off, Powerhouse. Name them off, fire around, because I'm not going to dive into all these. We've already are probably close to over 40 minutes. So we got solar coin, Power Ledger. That's in one of my long-term trades. Then we have Cardano, Stellar. Those are all as well. Nano, IOTA. I've recently added that one. EOS, Tron, Signum. We got Holochain, Holo tokens, Devio. So I'm going to actually look into these after the fact. But HBAR, yep, we know that's a part of the long-term. Chia, I had mentioned that one as well too. I put that in the long-term trades. I believe it was back in October, because they're partnered up with the UN to track carbon credits. So Chia, take a look at that one. Algorand, yep. We got MetaHash, Harmony One, Tezos. A lot of our long-term holdings are in here. I've been ringing the alarms about Flow. Look at that. Flow, we got that in there. We got Avalanche, I've been saying that as well too. And we got Gridcoin, Mina Protocol, and we got Redcoin. And GoChain and eForce, WazX. That's what another one I shared back in October, that Steve Wozniak is one of the co-founders of this. Yeah, right here. eForce is the brainchild of Apple founder Steve Wozniak. So we got eForce involved. Green Trust, Near Protocol, that's on our radar. Mobile Coin, we got Electronium. They're actually working with Avalanche and Ripple with the United Kingdom to develop the central bank digital currency there. And then special mention Ethereum. So yeah, so there we go. Like a lot of our long-term holdings were mentioned in here. And that's why we're getting into those ones, because we know that towards the future, cryptocurrencies are going to rise based off of value and what they bring to the world as far as sustainability-ness and like the way they enhance the transaction process or the way goods and services are delivered or tracked. So we know that in the future, they're going to be valued based off the value they bring to the world. And that's why we're holding the ones that we do. And then we got eco-friendly, everything you need to know about eco-friendly cryptocurrencies. Why is cryptocurrency bad for the environment? We've already talked about that. And then, yep, so right there, 6 environmentally friendly cryptocurrencies. That's so funny because we got IOTA, XRP, Chia, Cardano, Nano. We got Solarcoin, Bitgreen. So there we go. All the ones that we've been ringing the alarm about. IOTA, XRP, Chia, Cardano, all those ones. They're talking about those being the best ones for sustainableness in cryptocurrencies. Then we have here the United Nations, right on their website in the news. We go down and it's talking about, let's see. So a pointless way to use energy. So it's saying sustainability solution or climate calamity, the dangers and promise of cryptocurrency technology. A pointless way of using energy. It's talking about the Bitcoin network and the proof of work mining and how, a MasterCard transaction, saying how much energy that uses and how much, which is 0.006 compared to Bitcoin, it uses 980, a big difference. So Bitcoin isn't the future of the way that the finance system goes to because its environmental impact as well as it's slow. You're better off using MasterCard at that point. And then an important driver of sustainable development. Let's see. All right, so we got here, finding low energy solutions. For example, it talks about Ethereum with the proof of stake. Says that the energy cost of each transaction could be cut by 99.95%. At the same time, many players in the industry want to ensure that any energy consumed by the industry is entirely carbon free. In April 2021, 3 important organizations, the Energy Web Foundation, Rocky Mountain Institute, and the Alliance for Innovative Regulations, And it's funny because they didn't mention Ripple in there when I showed you earlier that Ripple is a part of that. XRP Ledger, Ripple, Energy Web, and the Rocky Mount Institute. It's funny how the United Nations didn't mention it, probably because they don't want anybody to know, right? But they formed the Crypto Climate Accord. So they have the Crypto Climate Accord, but there's also the Paris Climate Agreement. So the Paris, oh, I guess I have no internet. All right, but there's also the Paris Climate Agreement. And with that, it was just kind of like with the United Nations and sustainability goals. And now we have the Crypto Climate Accord, which is supported by organizations spanning the climate, finance, NGO, and energy sectors. And the aim of the accord is to decarbonize the industry in record time and achieve net zero emissions in the global crypto industry by 2030. We have the timeline, they all align. So the ups and downs of cryptocurrencies, talk more about it. And yeah, so that's another connection to be made. World Economic Forum again, how blockchain and cryptocurrencies can help build a greener future. And this was of 2021, June 17th. The cryptocurrency ecosystem is shifting towards a cleaner, greener future. Most energy used to mine crypto already comes from renewable sources. Rather than harm the planet, crypto and blockchain can actually be a force of environmental good. So it's talking about the same things here about the Bitcoin proof of work consensus algorithm, talking about switching to a different consensus mechanism that is less energy intensive and talks about carbon footprint, all those same things that we're looking at here. Talking about the carbon utility token is an example of growing class of green assets designed in large part to help corporations manage their carbon allowances. So then we have here, we're seeing the unfold in the real world. Major Indian steel conglomerate Tata Steel is partnering with HSBC to experiment with smart contracts on the blockchain, exporting raw materials around the globe while cutting contract settlement times from a matter of weeks to a matter of days. Imagine all of the energy saved in the process, which is so true. But it says, while there are certainly challenges ahead, crypto and blockchain have the potential to lead us towards a much greener planet, with the discussion surrounding crypto and energy stimulating us to hasten our transition to clean energy sources while providing us with the tools to do so. So they're showing it. So that was written by Steven Stonberg, CEO of Bitrex, a part of the World Economic Forum. Decarbonizing energy, global agenda, blockchain, climate change, they all relate. Can crypto go green? This is the New York Times, and it was published October 10th of 2021, talking about going green and talking about Tezos here. Also talking about, it's kind of like an interviews going back and forth with a lot of representatives of the crypto industry here. So yeah, so we can skip past this one. Then we got Sustainable Cryptocurrencies. This is a publication, October 11th, 2021, and it says mining. Let me get rid of this. Mining is affecting supply chains and the environment, but Germany can help mitigate it. Cryptocurrencies are here to stay, and that's a good thing. This is a doctor. I think it's a German organization or something, so advancing foreign policy. But cryptocurrencies are here to stay, and that's a good thing. But many cryptos, like Bitcoin, use an energy-intensive proof-of-work mining process, which aggravates semiconductor shortages, which we do have semiconductor shortages right now, and undermines environmental objectives. Germany has an opportunity to foster innovation to replace mining and support a more sustainable crypto ecosystem. Doing so will help free up supply of high-demand semiconductors, reduce energy consumption, and grow Germany's innovation base while allowing Germany to benefit from the opportunity this new digital medium can bring. Wow, I wonder what's in that report. Because it says cryptocurrencies and more generally crypto assets have taken the world by storm, with an annual growth rate of 30% in crypto market size, development of crypto payment infrastructure, and new crypto assets. Cryptos are certainly here to stay. So crypto plays an important role in sustainable development, says United Nations expert. So July 19th of 2021. The UN experts believe that cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology that powers the ecosystem can actually increase environmental oversight. Despite the issue of greenhouse gases generated in Bitcoin mining, the United Nations believes that currency and blockchain technology can play an important role in sustainable development. UN experts believe that cryptocurrencies can actually increase their oversight of the environment. In a report last month, the UN said that transparency is one of the most useful aspects of cryptocurrencies and can provide reliable transaction records, especially in countries with weak institutions and high levels of corruption. So just now the UN is saying all about it, plays an important role in sustainable development, UN expert. Then we have how sustainable altcoins aim to challenge Bitcoin's dominance on Fortune, September 24th, 2021. The story is part of the Path to Zero, a series of special reports on how business can lead the fight against climate change. This quarter's stories explore new markets emerging in the sustainability space. Fortune is a big company and a big brand, and they have a whole series of special reports on how businesses can lead the fight against climate change. So I wonder if they're tied up with the World Economic Forum as well, but I can't even go into this because I'm not going to subscribe. So this is just more kind of signs and clues pointing us to sustainability and green finance, the rise of green finance and what it is. So I hope in this video you got out of this that what green finance is and why it's important and why you should know that this is coming and that it's involved in the transition of the future and how it's going to affect crypto and how you can profit from it. So that is the rise of green finance, what it is, why it's important, and I'll see you in the next video.
I'ma keep the case clean, I won't shroud it in no love. Getting laced at the seams, turning powder into dust. I need space for my team, it's getting crowded in the club. Now